your fundamentals right now. So, I mean, kind of getting there, right? But of course, the objective for today should be more like this. Not really fighting, but at least making some proper moves in here, right? And again, remember, day 1 and day 2 should not bring you to the stage where you can head on Monday and go into the charts and like trade all the time. That's not the objective what we're trying to do. We want to give you the basics so you can take this whole week then and just backtest what we gave you, make some more markups, see the overall cycle, see the liquidity buildup, see the inducements, and see the overall daily cycle components to put things together. And then next week, we show you obviously way more in detail stuff, give you more confluences, give you some more tools, and then we will dig into trading. Okay? So just write that down. There should no be trading the whole week until we actually show you how to trade it. So this week, backtesting, practicing, getting the foundationals good. Okay? So just some quick revision about what we covered so far. We started with the basics of the inducements. Of course, we have the main inducement areas, how they, of course, induce breakout inducements. And you see this is the most obvious form of liquidity. The moment you see these equal highs or equal lows, and someone even asked us, they need to be equal. No, it can be something like this as well, whatever. It should not be too obvious. If it's something like that, obviously that's not equal anymore, right? It's more like a structure at this point. But again, if it's like whatever, close to equal, that is perfectly fine. It acts like a liquidity. They will take it out and they go lower. Okay? So that's the most easiest form of liquidity. The breakout inducement, of course, always spot these equal highs, equal lows. And of course, we have the reversal trader when these points get broken out and then retested. They enter it in here. I always enter it long. And then we have the same thing for smart money, where they have your demand zone with your some sort of imbalance. They're faking these zones a lot, give the false reaction, taps into there, and then they expect the price to move higher. And then, of course, we have the trend traders, which they try to building a trend, show the whole world that they're building the trend, and of course, trick everyone in the illusion that the price will go in this direction forever. And of course, they're using it all for what? Of course, the inducement here, inducement here, inducement here, and inducement here. But before they do it, of course, they build up the liquidity, show them the breakout, show them the retest, show them the reaction of the supply demand zone, and show them the trend. That's how they trick people in. And then, of course, the moment everyone is in the wrong direction, then they can take it out and then obviously move in the different direction. Okay. Then, of course, our structure master Alex gave a pretty good example about the efficiency of the pullback that helps you identify in the bigger picture of it. For example, we showed you in green, that's the valid zones you can look for. For example, if you have this demand zone in here, and let's say this creates an imbalance inside this area, it's completely valid, right? Of course, to tap in, but also now we're talking about this zone when we have this equal lows in here. And this acts as the inducement, and this creates the imbalance area, and maybe also induce something to the left, which is liquidity in here maybe, right? So this becomes a point of interest for your obviously zone you want to get retagged with the mitigation, obviously, after, guess what? The internal break of structure, or in this case, break of structure in here. Then, of course, you expect something like maybe even liquidity buildup in here. This acts as the internal inducement now, and now mitigates the bigger picture inducement in here, right? That's totally valid until price action goes to the bigger demand zone in here. And then, of course, you're trading in line with the overall higher time frame trend. The difference is, though, if you have the same scenario until here, like if you cut out all this one and just look at this right here, it's the same exact thing. You have the build up in here, inducement area, perfect, maybe grabs liquidity to the left as well, but then taps into this overall demand zone first. You see, it never really gets mitigated in here. It taps into the overall demand in here. Then again, there's no reason anymore to that this get mitigated. It obviously will be broken. And that's why this zone in here gets invalid afterwards. And that will be called, again, the efficient pullback in here. So just a quick recap about that. Hope that's clear. And I think it is. So definitely we can move on now with all the traps. combined. So again, what do? Of course, they're faking the break of structure. They're breaking the structure here. Stop loss is getting built up, right? They're building the trend. Stop loss is getting included as well. New trend again. Of course, building some more structures, more stop losses. Then smart money traders come into place here. They're getting the reaction. They're putting their stop losses, of course, in here as well. Then they're taking it out. And then, of course, we're done for the play. But before they're doing it, they're always building up this false trend. They always give these retailers all their reasons to entering their positions to the wrong side of the market. Then the final inducement high. Then, of course, you wait for the internal break of structure, and then you look for these imbalance zones, how structure got taught by Alex. Okay. Then, of course, if you look at the charts, of course, that's, for example, a 1 minute chart. It's always the same. It doesn't matter if it's a 1 minute chart or a 5 minute chart, as we told you. In terms of basic structure, again, you're always looking for these liquidity buildups, like in these equal lows, right? You're seeing the false trend being built up. Never got an inducement to the high side, and everything they got, like obviously liquidity buildups, even here and here. Then this is finally the inducement of these equal lows. Then you're having this internal break of structures, obviously very minor in here. Then getting the pullback, mitigating this demand area, right? And then of course you're getting the internal break of structure, and then you can take a look at this one, and then obviously aim for the main break of structure, and then go for these areas to move higher. And of course, you can do the same thing for breaking the whole thing down into time frames. So if this is the 1 minute chart overall, what do we do? On the 50 minute, it would look something like this. And on the 5 minute, it would look something like this. As you can see here, the 5 minute is very clean in terms of this imbalance zone, right? This is the imbalance from here to here, and gets perfectly mitigated. Of course, you break it down to the 1 minute to get even tighter zones like this. And as you can see here, gets perfectly mitigated after the inducement to the low side, main break of structure now, smart money trap before that, makes this type of movement. And again, we can give it a weight right away. These movements in here, when they're inducing something with speed. Speed is very, very important to move further, because again, what do these candles do? These huge candles in one side direction. They causing this FOMO, they're causing this, oh my God, the market moves crazy in this direction. Don't let me miss out that move. Oh my God, right? So again, these candles with speed are called vector candles. And if you dig more into like inducements, you will see they happen all the time. Again, same thing here. If you look at this in here, this candle was solid black at some point. After they broke this structure point in here, grabbing the liquidity. So all the breakout traders and the whole world who sees this short trade in here, or this bearish cycle or whatever, bearish trend, right? They're seeing this excitement of this candle being fully black and like, oh my God, I need to jump in because now we have a new lower low, whatever. This thing will go forever. And all of this is the inducement. That's how our understanding switches to the whole world. Because again, the whole world sees this channeling downwards, bearish. We see the inducement grabbing the liquidity, and then internal break of structures, filling the imbalance, and then of course taking out this minor liquidity, making the new main break of structure now. Then we look at this point, obviously with the imbalance area, we refined it, and then of course we expect the mitigation to move higher later. Okay, but of course it will get clearer the moment you're tagging or adding the whole into the cycle. Just another one. Very easy one. For example, this is the 5 minute one. You see it's always the same anyways. So again, equal highs building up here. And again, same thing, equal lows building here, main break of structure. This is the inducement before that, grabbing the final point in interest here, right? Of course, this becomes the inducement, creates the imbalance area. Now we're having an internal break of structure. So guess what? This becomes the extreme with the imbalance that should mitigate it later. After the main break of structure confirms it, of course, we expect price to come and mitigates, delivers price fairly from the inducement and after the break of structure, and goes for, of course, the liquidity in the other direction. Anyway, so to make this whole picture clearer, because some might ask like, okay, what about this though? Like, why is not this one a point of interest and we look for short in here? That's a very solid question. You should understand why not. First obvious answer is internal break of structures. Why is this not a point of interest then? If you just use the structure, let's see, why not this one? No break of structure yet. This is the point, obviously, that created this overall push. So this point needs to be broken first in order to lock in this area. Did that do that? No. It stayed short of that, never broke it here, and then comes back. So this is a no valid zone. So this gets induced. Now you have an inducement, and guess what price action does? Makes pushes lower, 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 makes an internal break of structure. We don't care about this one, to be fair. We care about the main break of structure to here. Now this zone gets locked in, confirmed by structure, and now we can expect price come higher, mitigates this area, builds process imbalances in here, and then of course you trade the order flow, and after this, aim the next. And again, as you said, very good. Gray, that's also, you see these candles, huge candles to break these zones. That's also these vector candles with the inducement, which is always very juicy. And if you notice it, they do it all the time with speed to make people even more excited. And we can make it even more obvious, right? Because we have even more something to make it even clearer. It's of course now the Asia range, right? We always want the Asia range to be induced, best case in London or Frankfurt, and then obviously goes the other direction, right? So if we just include the Asia range in this example in here, guess how clean it will become out of a sudden? So just by this understanding now, everyone should see that this point in here will definitely not be a point of interest. We never induced Asia low. We created equal lows in here. Never get a break of structure anyways. Of course, this gets induced, best case in London Open, right? Then we have a valid break of structure in here. This becomes the inducement with the imbalance. We expect this to be mitigated. And then, of course, price can continue lower to aim for the higher time frame liquidity. That's how we slowly combining and digging deeper and putting things together and make it clearer and clearer and clearer. And hopefully this in here is already clean to almost everyone in here, because that is essential to understand so far. We're combining stuff. We started slow, as you can see, but now we're just starting to combine. And now we do a lot of repetition to get this play into your head, because again, just because of one or two examples, that's not enough. So pretty much to sum it up, so what do we do if we just analyze this intraday play? We have Asia range. What do we see right away? They did a false break of structure. So you should not get induced by this area, as we just had this example right before that, right? You should already know that this becomes a smart money trap. Of course, it has imbalances whatsoever, but it is Asia high. And of course, you expect that to be induced, right? So guess what? We can mark it up as a smart money trap right away. And they induce low to do what? To go higher. They tap into this area to fake the false reaction. Of course, they do it on purpose to make it seem like, oh yeah, this is valid. And now they're adding positions even here and expect this. Whatever, that's the reversal traders or the smart money traders. That's also not what we do. We expect the smart money trap. Asia range got never induced to the high side. Right, so now what we expect after, of course, we expect the inducement. Then we look at the clock. Okay, perfect timing. London Open, a little bit later, but it's completely fine. That's why, by the way, we created this box, right? So, of course, it's not always to the minute, but that's why we made a box. So it's obviously a little bit of a time difference in here, right? And of course, what do we expect after this one? Please let me know what should happen now. Just by the understanding of this intraday play. There you go. Perfect. Love it. There you go. There's the first tube, but guess what? Now what do we have? Now we have the inducement confirmed by timing, confirmed by the false break of structure, confirmed by the smart money trap, inducement of Asia range high. The whole world is buying that thing. Look at the channel they're building. They're doing it here before, inducement low first, building the channel here again. Now inducing all the breaker traders long. The whole world is long. Obviously now London comes in, says, thank you for the information. Everyone is long now. Let me start our session. Now they're doing an internal break of structure. And by the way, just to clarify that, very easy stuff. This one is not a break of, oh, well, maybe actually make that, let me make that clearer. So let's make it like this. This one in here is not a break of structure. This is just a lower low. like this would be a break of structure. Okay. Always take the structure from the left. Again, this one is not a structure point. This did not lead to a new high, right? So you always need to take the structure point to the left. As you can see here, this push in here led to the new high. So this becomes a structure point, and now this one gets broken. So this now is a break of structure. You see the difference? Again, if it just makes this in here, that's just a new lower low inside this. This does not break anything. But the moment it gets lower than this point, which created the new push, of course, this is now your valid break of structure. And of course, you expect the mitigation in these areas. Okay? Make sense? So now we have it. Now we have this break of structure in here. So how they're faking the break of structure here in the wrong area. So they're building all these traps all over again. You see how they do it on purpose, but now we're just utilizing it with more confirmation. So this is Asia high. So of course, this is a false break of structure to induce people the wrong direction, of course. Now everything is locked in with all the confirmations we gave you. Inducement of Asia range, timing confirmed it, building up the whole false trend, inducing low first, giving a smart money trap, and then inducing finally high to stop out every short sellers. Now we're having a break of structure in here. So guess what we can do next? We find our mitigation area with imbalances or demand zones, right? Or in this case, supply zone, whatever, it's all the same, right? Guess what we expect after that? After the internal break of structure, after the inducement of timing of Asia range, of course, a mitigation. So what should come next? A reaction. Now we're getting a main break of structure. So what do we expect next? After main break of structure, how Alex teaches them, the push that led to the break of structure is this one. This one has also an imbalance. This is the push that led to the break of structure. So, of course, like this, you mark out again the mitigation area with the imbalances, mitigates it. And question for everyone now, very easy one. What should be our target if we took this short trade? Where should we target at least? There you go. 2 people got it right. Perfect. There you go. You guys are picking up very good. Perfect. Of course, Asia low, done. Perfect trade. Okay. So just to sum it up here, it can look like this, of course. This is the ideal scenario. Of course, that happens not every day. You have to understand the bigger picture. It can look like this, where it doesn't give an internal break of structure. But of course, something like this is freaking gold. That is literally a gold mine if something like that happens. If you have an inducement in London Open here, then you get an internal break of structure, creates imbalances, and then make something like this on the 1 minute. So this is the moment you break this zone down into the 1 minute and see something like this. And that leads us to the next thing we will cover is build up, internal break of structure like here. And then, of course, this is a liquidity area above this mitigation area. Then price induces this internal structure, internal inducement, and simultaneously mitigates the bigger picture in here, the 5-minute play. And that's how you refine trades later. And of course, this whole thing will play out in the overall direction. And that's how you're combining time frames later. Okay, how to enter and stuff like that, of course, we show you all in day 3 and 4. This week is just to understand the basics, but we're not covering trades. Okay, because if you cover trades, it's too much. It's too much. That's why we need to first get you some material, need to backtest it. Then on day 3 and 4, we dig into how to actually trade it. But as of now, see the overall picture, Asia range, building the short trend, inducement low, London Open, internal structure gets broken, internal break of structure, creating imbalance zones. Now you're looking at the 1 minute, seeing this internal structure play, building up liquidity, equal lows above the structure point or above this, in this case, demand zone. Find the imbalances, whatever, refine it like this maybe, right? And then, of course, expect the inducement internally of here, simultaneously mitigating these areas. And then, of course, you take a look back at the bigger play and aim for Asia range high. Okay? Beautiful. And of course, you have all the traps combined just to know how they build up liquidity of the internal plays and stuff like that in order to identify where they should induce next and makes it easier for you to identify the liquidity properly. But of course, we show you so many examples.